Hello, Happy New Year once again. In this part of the uh, books written by me, I would like to talk about four of the publications which were co authored with people from other countries. These include the Stewart Maturity Scale, for which I worked with David McClelland in the year 1975, published in 1976. The collaborator was Abigail Stewart, who happened to be a PhD student for some time with David McClelland. In fact, David invited me to go to Harvard University as a research associate to work with him on a 3-month fellowship to adapt the Stewart Maturity Scale done by Abigail Stewart. Abby was at that point of time at Wesleyan University teaching there. McClelland was at Harvard. I spent some time with David and then went to Wesleyan and worked with Abigail to adapt the scale that she developed to India. I carried a large number of TAT stories written by Indian managers. We were already doing by the time, this is the year 1975. I collected a lot of TAT stories from managers. And it was David who said that he had just written an article on Power is the Great Motivator, which was published in Harvard Business Review, in which he talked about psychosocial maturity. He said institution builders are people who have more than achievement motivation, a social power to make an impact on people around, and he called them institutional managers. And he said these institutional managers possess a high degree of psychosocial maturity. And this psychosocial maturity was measured by the same TAT stories written by any manager. The same TAT stories used for measuring achievement motivation, affiliation motivation, and power motivation. In psychosocial maturity, which is based on Erik Erikson's theory of stages of development, Abby found that people who reach level 4, stage 4 of their development have complex thinking and depict leaders as self-dispensing people. Actually, she called it self-dispensing style of leadership. So this book that we have jointly written on the basis of my work with Abigail Stewart is titled as Stewart Maturity Scale. This is the scale, and for which Dr. McClelland had written foreword. And I got to India, and then this was published in 1976 by Manasayan. I must say it has not been very popularly used, but Manasayan sold it for until the time it existed, till late 90s. This scale, of course, is a scale to measure psychosocial maturity. It is co-authored with Abby, and sometimes people ask me now to train them in using this particular scale. It can be trained, anybody who knows this. TAT stories and analyze them for achievement, power, imagery, can also do it for psychosocial maturity. It has all illustrations on measuring psychosocial maturity. The second and third books I had written with collaboration from others was a book on developing entrepreneurs. This book is called Entrepreneurial Skills Development Programs. Now there is one version of this. This is Entrepreneurial Skills Development Programs in 15 Commonwealth countries. We included the entrepreneurial skill development in Australia, Britain, Canada, Gambia, India, Jamaica, Malaysia, Malawi, Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Sri Lanka, Swaziland, Uganda, and Zimbabwe. This is almost like a monograph, but the main book was written again in Commonwealth Secretariat, London, by three of us. This is the main book, which is Developing Entrepreneurial Skills Development Programs, a resource book for technical and vocational education. The two joint authors with me, who worked with me at the Commonwealth Secretariat, are Wright from Sierra Leone. Later, he joined the Commonwealth Secretariat as an advisor, and after that, I think he now lives in New York, runs his own consulting firm. And Hena Mukherjee was in charge of education in Commonwealth Secretariat, London. In fact, I made about quite a few trips to London where we conceptualized this and we reviewed a lot of literature from across the particularly African countries. Wright was particularly helpful. And we, after reviewing it, this is because I've had background in entrepreneurial development. I worked in Malaysia, and Hena comes from Malaysia with Malaysian background, a Bengali woman, but who spent a lot of time in Malaysia and has a lot of affection for India. In fact, she visited our institute, IIM Ahmedabad, at some point of time, and we spent a lot of time researching. It was a 3-year project. By the time I think it resulted in a book format, handbook, it was almost 1990. It was published in the year 1990. So you can see a lot of work goes on. After that, it's only sometime in 2010, I was requested by Pearson Education that there is a textbook on entrepreneurship which is being popularly used, done by Kuratko, and can I join him adapting it and making an Indian version. I spent again a couple of years. Again, this is the book that came up with Kuratko, and we made a South Asian edition. I never met Professor Kuratko. I only looked at his book, and normally the rule is when you make an Indian adaptation, you have to have at least about 30% new and indigenous. So I substituted a whole lot of chapters with Indian examples, included Indian case studies, and reoriented at least a few of the chapters to entrepreneurship as we knew. This particularly my teaching the laboratory in entrepreneurial motivation at IIM Ahmedabad and the handbook of entrepreneurs, and then the work I had done on selection of entrepreneurs along with T.K. Maulik and others. All these became helpful, and I incorporated quite a bit of the research we had done and the courses I was teaching at IIM Ahmedabad. In fact, I started in early part of 2003 or 2004 a new course called Entrepreneurial Personality in IIM Ahmedabad. Including all these experiences, I modified this book, and this fat book on entrepreneurship, a South Asian perspective, was brought out. I think it has almost run very successfully for about 10 years, after which I think the Pearson decided to drop the South Asian part of it and so on. I think, friends, these are the 4 books I have written with 4 co-authors from other countries. Unfortunately, I never maintained contacts with them. Abby now teaches at the University of Michigan. She heads the psychology department. Hena went to World Bank, and later I'm not sure where she is now. And Wright was for some time, he joined Commonwealth Secretariat as education advisor, and after that I think he went to New York. Kuratko, I assume, continues in his own university. So, lessons from all these books. When you collaborate with people from other countries, if you happen to interact with them, it's a great learning. You learn quite a bit. I think they all work hard. Hena worked very hard. Wright, I used to interact with him in Commonwealth Secretariat, and he brought in a lot of insights from Sierra Leone, where he had his early part of life. And Hena, of course, had a global kind of a perspective. And Kuratko's, of course, book itself was a source of wisdom and so on. So these are the 4 books I had written in collaboration with others. I think it's certainly hard work. Like I mentioned, every book has a story, and each production is hard work and great learning and dissemination of learning to others. I value the work that we have done on entrepreneurship very much. Even today, the 2 books that we have written from Commonwealth Secretariat are I'm sure, guideposts for those who want to develop at school level or entrepreneurial skills development programs. If you can get hold of a copy of this from Commonwealth Secretariat, London, you will be lucky. Otherwise, do write to me. Maybe I'll be able to scan a set of copies and send it to you. Thank you very much, and all the best from TV Rao.